That gold chain you paid $1,800 for at the mall? A pawn shop will hand you back maybe $240 for it. Not because they're cheating you, because that's what the metal inside it is actually worth. Most of what you paid was the box, the lighting, the saleswoman's commission, and a brand name stamped on a clasp the size of a grain of rice. And here's the part nobody at the counter will say out loud: the markup on mainstream jewelry runs anywhere from 8 to 12 times the wholesale cost. And on some pieces, much higher than that. If you've already bought from one of these places, you're not stupid. You were never meant to win that transaction. The game was rigged before you walked in. Tonight, we're walking through 7 brands quietly bleeding buyers dry, and 5 that actually give you something real for your money. One of the 7 is a name your mother probably trusts. And by the end, I'll give you a single rule that tells you, in about 10 seconds, whether any piece of jewelry is worth what they're asking. Before any of that, hold this in your head. There are only 2 things you ever pay for in jewelry. The first is intrinsic value, which is the actual metal and stones, weightable, testable, resellable. The second is story value, which is the brand, the box, the marketing, the ad campaigns with movie stars. Intrinsic value follows you for life. Story value evaporates the second you walk out the door. Every brand we talk about, ask yourself which one you're actually being charged for. Number 7, Pandora. Those charm bracelets feel substantial in your hand, and the sterling silver is real. That part isn't a lie. But sterling silver has a melt value that you can look up on your phone right now, and a single charm at $65 contains maybe $4 or $5 of actual silver. The rest is mold, marketing, and the bracelet's emotional gravity. People buy 12 charms thinking they're building an heirloom. They're building a collection that will resell, used, for roughly 10% of what they paid. Pandora isn't evil, it's just priced like a fashion brand wearing a fine jewelry costume. Number 6, Kay Jewelers, Jared, Zales. These are all the same parent company. Their financing model is the real product. The ring is the bait. The store card interest rate, often pushing close to 30% APR, is where they make their living. A 1-carat ring marked at $6,000 often carries a wholesale cost between $800 and $1,200. You're not just overpaying for the diamond. You're overpaying, then paying interest on the overpayment, for 5 years. I once watched a young guy at a counter sign for a ring that, by the time he finished the payment plan, cost him more than his used car. He didn't know. Nobody told him. Number 5, Tiffany & Company. The blue box is a $1 trillion mood. The diamond inside it is graded by Tiffany's own internal standards, not always sent to the Gemological Institute of America, the GIA, the way independent jewelers do. You're paying a documented premium of roughly 30% to 40% over an equivalent stone from a reputable independent. For some people, the box is the point, and that's a fair trade if you know you're making it. Most buyers don't know. They think they're paying for superior quality, when what they're actually paying for is a color of cardboard. Number 4, Swarovski. Everyone calls it crystal. It isn't. It's leaded glass, manufactured glass, cut by machine, and it has no resale value whatsoever. The Mohs hardness sits around 6, which means it scratches against quartz, against sand, against a key in your pocket. A $200 Swarovski pendant becomes a cloudy, scuffed $200 mistake within about 18 months of daily wear. Compare that to a real gemstone with proper hardness, and you understand why this brand sells beautifully and ages terribly. But at least Swarovski tells you it's glass if you read the fine print. Number 3. Anything sold as gold-filled, gold-plated, or vermeil at department store prices. Vermeil legally requires sterling silver underneath and at least 2.5 microns of gold on top. Most cheap gold jewelry from mall fashion brands is plated at half a micron or less, which wears through in months. Brands like Kendra Scott, at their price point, are selling you brass with a whisper of gold coating, then charging you like it's solid. There's nothing wrong with fashion jewelry. There is something wrong with fashion jewelry prices dressed up in fine jewelry language. Number 2. Lab diamond resellers who price their stones like mined diamonds. Lab-grown diamonds are chemically identical to mined ones. Same hardness, same brilliance, same grading scale. Wholesale, a 1-carat lab diamond costs roughly $200 to $400 right now. Some brands take that exact stone, set it in a basic ring, and charge $3,000 to $5,000. The stone itself is honest. The pricing is a costume. When the wholesale price of lab diamonds has dropped over 80% in the last several years, Any retailer still pricing them at near-mind rates is banking on you not checking. Number 1. Costume jewelry sold at airport and cruise ship boutiques under unfamiliar brand names. The markup here is often 20 to 30 times wholesale because they know you're emotional, far from home, and won't be back to complain. I've seen tanzanite pendants sold for $2,000 on cruise excursions that were tanzanite-colored glass with a certificate printed on a laser printer in the back room. If a deal feels urgent, if a salesperson is rushing you, if the certificate is from a lab nobody outside that store has ever heard of, that's not jewelry shopping. That's a confidence trick wearing a name tag. Now, if you already own pieces from any of these brands, stop bracing yourself. None of this means your jewelry is worthless to you. The emotional value of a gift, of an engagement, of a milestone, doesn't show up on a scale. What this video gives you is the power to never overpay again, and to know exactly what to insure, what to repair, and what to quietly retire. The rest of this is about where your money actually goes further than the brands above. And the first one will surprise you. Independent local jewelers, especially second and third generation family shops, regularly sell finished pieces at 2 to 3 times wholesale instead of the 8 to 12 of the chains. They'll show you the GIA certificate. They'll let you weigh the metal. They'll size a ring for free for the rest of your life. They're not glamorous. They don't advertise during the Super Bowl. That's exactly why they can afford to charge you a fair price. Estate and antique jewelry from reputable auction houses or established estate dealers. You're buying the metal and the stones at something close to their real value. The original retail premium was paid by someone 50 years ago and has long since burned off. A 1940s platinum and diamond ring often costs less than a new white gold ring with a smaller stone. The craftsmanship is usually better. The story is real, not invented by a marketing team. But you have to know what you're looking at, which is why the next option is so powerful for beginners. Direct-to-consumer online jewelers with transparent sourcing, the ones that show you the exact stone, the exact certificate, and the exact price breakdown between stone and setting. Names like Blue Nile and James Allen built their entire model on undercutting Tiffany & K by removing the showroom and the commission floor. The same GIA-certified stone will routinely cost 40% to 60% less than at a mall chain. The setting will be simpler. That's fine. A simple setting and a better stone beats a flashy setting and a worse one every single time. Loose stone dealers paired with a local bench jeweler. You buy the diamond or sapphire from a wholesaler, certified, and bring it to a local goldsmith to set in a custom piece. Total cost is often half of what a chain charges for something less personal. You walk away with a one-of-one ring and the paperwork to prove its value. This is how people in the trade actually buy jewelry for themselves. Solid gold by weight, from a reputable bullion-adjacent jeweler. A plain 1/8 carat gold band, a solid gold chain at a known gram weight, a pair of solid gold hoops. You pay close to the spot price of the metal plus a modest making fee. It holds value. It can be melted and remade. It is, in the most literal sense, money you can wear. Boring? Maybe. But the boring purchases are the ones you don't regret at 3 inches the morning. Here's the rule I promised you. Before you buy any piece of jewelry, ask the seller one question. What is this worth if I walk out? Try to sell it back to you tomorrow? A fair jeweler will quote you something in the range of 50% to 70% of the price. A predatory one will mumble, change the subject, or quote you 10%. That single question separates the brands that respect you from the ones that need you uninformed. It works in a mall, it works online, it works on a cruise ship. It is the one sentence the industry hopes you never learn to say. As a quick guide, under $300, buy solid gold by weight, nothing fancier. $300 to $1,000, $500, go independent, local, or estate. $1,000, $500 to $5,000, go online with GIA-certified stones and a simple setting. Above $5,000, buy loose and have it set custom. And never, ever finance it at store rates. You came in here suspecting you'd been overcharged. You were right, but now you know exactly how, exactly why. Exactly what to do differently the next time someone in a clean shirt slides a velvet tray across a counter at you. That feeling of seeing the trick instead of falling for it is the whole point. If that's the side you want to be on, stay here. This channel exists for people who refuse to be quietly fleeced on the purchases that matter most. Tell me in the comments which of the 7 brands hit closest to home for you, and whether you'd have asked that buyback question before tonight. And if someone you love is about to propose, about to buy an anniversary gift, about to walk into a mall jeweler this weekend, send them this video before they sign anything. One forwarded link could save them $3,000 and a decade of quiet regret. That's not a small thing. That's the kind of favor people remember. Before you close this tab and go on with your evening, let me leave you with a few more truths the industry would rather you forget. The difference between a buyer who walks in armed and a buyer who walks in hopeful is usually measured in thousands of dollars and years of resentment. Consider the history here. The modern engagement ring tradition, the idea that a man should spend 2-3 months' salary on a diamond, was not handed down from antiquity. It was manufactured. In 1947, a copywriter named Francis Garrity, working at the N.W. Ayer advertising agency in Philadelphia, scribbled the phrase, "A diamond is forever," on a notepad late one night. De Beers paid the agency to embed that single line into films, magazines, and the social expectations of an entire generation. Before that campaign, fewer than 10% of American engagements involved a diamond ring. By 1990, that number was over 80%. You are not participating in an ancient ritual. You are participating in a marketing campaign that turned 75 this year, and the markup you pay funds the next generation of that same campaign. De Beers itself, founded by Cecil Rhodes in 1,888 inches Kimberley, South Africa, controlled roughly 85% of the world's rough diamond supply through the 20th century. They did not control it because diamonds were rare. They controlled it because they stockpiled them in vaults in London, releasing just enough to keep prices high. Internal company documents that surfaced during the 2000s antitrust cases confirmed this strategy in plain English. When Russian and Canadian mines broke the cartel in the early 2000s, prices should have collapsed. They didn't, because by then the marketing had done its work. The scarcity lived in your head, not in the ground. Now apply that lens to the lab-grown question, because I know some of you are typing it into the comments already. A 1-carat lab-grown diamond cost around $4,000 wholesale in 2018. Today, that same stone wholesales for under $300. The technology improved, the supply exploded, and the price floor fell through the basement. Yet mall jewelers still mark lab-grown stones up 400% to 600% over wholesale, banking on the fact that you don't know what the wholesale number is. If you buy lab-grown, buy it online from a vendor that publishes its margin. Never pay more than about twice the loose stone spot price for a finished ring with a basic setting. A counter-argument I hear constantly, "But my grandmother's ring is beautiful, and she bought it at a mall jeweler, and it's been fine for 50 years. Sure, two things are true. First, in 1968, the markup structures were different. The supply chains were shorter. The same store that ripped people off then is not the same corporate entity now. Most of those names were bought, gutted, and rebranded by holding companies in the 1990s and 2000s. Signet Jewelers alone owns Kay, Jared, Zales, and several others, operating roughly 2,300 stores across North America under different names that look like competitors. They are not competitors. They are the same pricing department wearing different uniforms. Second, "It's been fine" is not the same as "it was a good deal." A ring can sit on a finger for 50 years and still have been a 40% overpay on the day it was bought. The emotional value compounds. The financial value does not. Nobody is telling you to love the ring less. We are telling you to pay accurately for it. Here is the sensory part nobody warns you about. Walk into a chain jewelry store and notice the lighting. Those spotlights are calibrated between 4,000 and 5,000 Kelvin, with high color rendering indexes specifically chosen to make diamonds throw maximum fire and sparkle. Walk that same stone outside into ordinary daylight, or into the warm yellow light of your kitchen, and it will look noticeably duller. That is not an accident. That is a $100,000 lighting design contract executed across every store in the chain. Ask to see any stone you're seriously considering under a standard daylight bulb, or carry it to the window. If the salesperson hesitates, you have your answer about how the stone actually performs in the life you'll wear it in. Finance terms are the final trap. Store financing on jewelry frequently runs between 24% and 29% APR after promotional periods expire. And a missed payment can retroactively apply interest to the entire original balance,